Hello everyone and welcome back to Sendik's Weather channel. Today we are looking at the latest from the models for the next couple of weeks from the midday set of runs, which will take us around the second week of August, into the second week of August I should say, to around the 17th. There's been some interesting developments from the models today. Now I did hint at the possibility of some high pressure bringing more settled and drier and also possibly warmer or hotter conditions in yesterday's video, and that trend has continued to strengthen, as some of us might have expected, really. So at the moment, if we look at the current pattern, we have high pressure just sat out to our west in the Atlantic, keeping things a little bit fresher than it was a couple of weeks ago, definitely. And winds are in from the west, so obviously we're turning a bit cooler, and we've remained relatively cooler compared to before for a little while now. As we go into the start of August, high pressure continues to be maintained out to our west. Winds are in from a northerly direction, northwesterly direction. We're actually bringing in some quite cool air masses for the time of year. Obviously nothing ridiculous, but definitely lowering the temperatures down, maybe reaching like 2021 in the south, where we see it's closest to the warmer temperatures. Going into next week, high pressure just continues to sit to our south and west. There's an area of low pressure producing a lot of uncertainty with these models. This GFS run actually doesn't bring in that low pressure. It doesn't develop it as much in the Atlantic, so it just kind of slinks through the country, bringing bouts of wet weather maybe to central Britain there, central northern Britain, before that slinks through and develops as it moves into Scandinavia and the Nordic regions, but over us doesn't really bring anything. So a lot of uncertainty with that, and we'll have to see how it develops in the coming days. But if we have a look at the continuation of the run, high pressure just begins to move. So it's as you can see, it's positioned just to our west through the early part of next week, but then moving into the middle to latter part of next week, high pressure begins to strengthen just to our southeast over Denmark, the Netherlands, for example, and over parts of Eastern Europe. So high pressure beginning to migrate further eastwards, and we begin to see temperatures pull up from a warmer southerly direction. You can see we're very close to some quite hot air there. Look at that plume. If we have a look at that plume, you can see the 20-degree ice firm is getting into the south and southeast. Again, you might say it's an extreme anomaly run, but there are still a few runs that are showing this, and the support has definitely increased over the last few days. Again, it's still a long way off, and it's about day 8, day 9. So I don't want you saying it's definitely certain to happen, but it is, it's not completely out of the question, definitely not at the moment anyway. But you can just see that high pressure just sits to our east, winds in from a southerly direction. This would definitely have the potential to lift the temperatures into the high 20s, maybe even low 30s. As you look, daytime temperature 27, 28. Next day, 31, 31, 32 in the southeast on a low-res model. I reckon temperatures will be a bit higher with that sort of scenario before it eventually gets cleared away with this GFS run, and we try and turn a bit cooler, but heights are still strong to our south and west, so we actually bring in a westerly, northwesterly wind before eventually high pressure again just begins to build to our south, winds back in from the southwest there. We're just kind of sat under an area of high pressure really. The winds in from the southwest for the north of the country, but further south for central and southern England, it's definitely a bit more settled and just dry, really, very dry. So, yeah, quite muggy probably, but mild. So that's one run. So why not look at the next one, which is the GEM, and see how that compares. Again, high pressure's out to our west and southwest, winds in from a northerly direction throughout the rest of this week. Now with the GEM, that area of low pressure does develop around Monday, just to the north of the UK, in the northwest, maybe affecting the northwest, with some strong winds and heavy rain. However, again, it's further northwards, so it would only affect a minority. Apologies to you in particularly the north and northwest of Scotland and the Isle of Skye, for example, and all of the smaller isles up there, up in the north. But it shouldn't be too bad, I wouldn't expect. But it is quite a deep area of low pressure. The GEM spins up there. Obviously, still some uncertainty about that. Again, high pressure, though, begins to migrate around the early part of next week, the 5th of August. High pressure beginning to move from the west to more east, to the east of the UK, and begins to build and strengthen over many parts of Western and Eastern Europe, really. It just kind of builds over Eastern Europe like an anticyclone. Winds turn into a southerly direction, and you can see the hot air is wafting northwards, 15 degrees firm through the country, 20 degrees firm just off the south coast, so definitely bringing in some warmer temperatures. You can see with this GM run, it does bring in highs of 30 degrees at midday on Saturday, next weekend. But, of course, it's a long way off, and it's a low-resolution model. So a lot of uncertainty about this, but the runs definitely are gearing or gravitating towards this sort of pattern. See, the midnight run as well did a similar sort of thing, albeit the heat was a lot less centred over the UK, really. It was kind of further south, but maybe there's a trend within the models. Now, the ECM isn't fully out, but we'll have a look up to around day 7, which again is a reliable time frame. Again, high pressure out to our west, winds in from the north-northwest direction. You can see that area of low pressure much further northwards than the runs were showing before, and that would affect probably central northern Scotland in particular, maybe down towards the central belt and northern England with some strong winds and heavy rain. A lot of narrowing down on that needs to be pinned down on the exact development of that area of low pressure, because there's still a lot of uncertainty, even though it's only 5 days away. But you typically get that with these runs, but we should know in a couple of days. You can see again we have them fresh temperatures, bit of a briefer, milder spell with that area of low pressure if it comes off. Before, again, winds in from the west, but you can see that high pressure is beginning to move to the east again. You expect it in the following days to maybe bring up more of a warmer or hotter spell from the south. But for the time being, at that point, the 6th of August, we are kind of in a westerly Atlantic phase, slightly below average temperatures, but that could be reverting into a warmer pattern. So very interesting charts here, I would say. Of course, it's something to keep an eye on, so we'll keep you posted in the next few days. We can see this is the Ensemble suite. This is all of the runs within the GFS Ensemble, so the American model suite. They're all gathered together. There's 32 of them, and just in case you didn't know, I just thought I'd mention it, because some people do ask me, oh, you send it, what you going on about when you show these charts? Well, that's what it is. It's just all the runs. There's 32 in an ensemble. They run multiple times throughout the day, and they generate these charts to try and analyse trends. So you can see for the next week, we are around to slightly below average with the upper air temperatures in the south, obviously a little bit lower, cooler as you head north. But you can see into the longer term, maybe around the 7th to the 9th, the opening up of possibly a warming or hotter spell. You can see a few runs are now going for it around between the 7th and the 9th. Again, minority, but the numbers are increasing. It's something to definitely keep an eye out on in the longer term. I wouldn't rule it out. Obviously, I don't really want it to happen, but of course, there'll be some of you out there that do. Some of you that don't, especially those with the health conditions that come about with the heat. I know about them. So I saw some comments about that actually, but at the end of the day, I'm only forecasting what is expected. I'm not really a weather god. I'm not controlling it. So the weather will do what the weather will do always. So there you go. But yeah, you can just see the trend is up really into the second week of August. But at the end of this video, I just wanted to say a big thank you for 1,800 subscribers. I really do appreciate your continued support with the channel. Make sure that if you do like the content to consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It always helps us out. And yeah, here's to 2K by the end of the year, maybe? I don't know. It's growing quite fast at the moment. It's doing really well. So that's all down to you lot for watching these videos. But yeah, the trend is for it to stay around to slightly below average for the next couple of weeks. Again, bits and bats of unsettled weather, particularly in the north most likely. Again, could be that Sunday into Monday. Could be a bit of an unsettled spell for central England as well. But of course, there's still a little bit of messing around on that front. But anyway, in the long term, there is the possibilities of some heat potentially. Thank you all very much for watching today's video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye everyone.